Here at Immanuel, we share the same grace. No matter who you are or where you have been, if you seek God's grace, you are welcome. For we are blessed by your presence.
The first part of that to me is easy. It's baptism. I feel that it is so important to be able to offer a sacrament that creates inclusiveness. Inclusiveness for obviously the person being baptized and for the parents. It's just I think just one of the most magnificent services that we do for ourselves and for our congregation. And we're called upon to be part of the person that's baptized life in Christ, and hopefully that will be something more than the date of baptism and 2 weeks afterwards. The second, and this one probably would throw a lot of people, but funeral services. It's not that far from baptism, really. As a matter of fact, we open a funeral service with reference to baptism. But when you have seen enough funeral services of members of Immanuel that were here that contributed so magnificently to the establishment of this church and then to its ongoing, I don't know, I guess maintenance is the word, and to the spirituality, and sometimes in a really neat way and sometimes in kind of a coarse way. But either way, it's humanity in action. Communion is important. I guess the biggest danger to communion is it becomes routine. Like having a ham sandwich every day for lunch, I don't feel that way most of the time, but I must say that I've accepted communion at times and sat down in the pew and, might as well have been a ham sandwich. Other times it just feels very, very, very spiritual and very important.
So what Immanuel has given to me over the years is a very strong sense of community. Was baptized in the church, went through communion in the church. I'm in my 30s now, and I still am great friends with the people I was in Sunday school with. I talk to them regularly. And every time I walk through the doors, I feel like I've come home. It doesn't matter how long I've been away, where I am in life. I just feel like Immanuel is a home for me.
I think worship is probably the most spiritual place for me. It is strange. I can have some kind of a problem going on, and I come here, and through the gospel and the sermon, it'll be touched upon. And then the other part that is very important is just the people at Immanuel. I have so many friends here, and it's such a welcoming atmosphere that helps with my spirituality also.
So I would say, as a parent, if I'm able to get to the service by myself, then I can really engage in the worship, and then I do feel moved. But I also appreciate that Immanuel is open to having small children there during the service, and when I'm chasing my daughter around in the background, nobody really bats an eye, and it's just like, well, this is acceptable here. Nobody's going to judge you, But also, I think that being able to provide open art studio is also really inspiring and helps me feel like I'm giving back, And that's also where I feel moved in my worship through the art.
I have found that in the women's group. I've never had that choice before at any other church. And I delved into it, and I am so glad that I did. The support from everyone is wonderful, and I have learned to open up and allow myself to share, which I've never done before.
What about you, Bob? I find it in worship, but I also find it in working around the grounds and the building and so forth, and giving something that back to the church that I can give, that I can do, and it just gives me a good feeling at the end of the day to have done what I can do and what I can contribute to the church.
Immanuel Lutheran means a lot to me and my family. There's so many areas of this church where I feel moved, where I feel accepted, and where I feel loved. Primarily for me, when I teach Sunday school, I get so much more than I give. I feel enriched. I feel so much better when I come out of the classes. Going into service, listening to Pastor Sandy, the message always resonates and seems like it's just what I needed for that day. So there's so many areas where I'm moved when I come to Immanuel.
Immanuel took a shy little girl who didn't talk to anybody and wouldn't know anybody and never spoke out loud, and turned me into a woman who has actually become a leader. They taught me how to lead, and one of the first things was from reading from the pulpit, just doing the Sunday readings, taught me to hear my own voice in public and be able to look out over a crowd and speak. And then as I took on small leadership details, and I always felt supported, and you're never working without a net, I grew and grew and grew and took those leadership skills to my postmasters organization, where I was a national vice president for that organization. And now I have a lesser leadership role here, but I am always thankful that God took that little girl and turned her into me today through Immanuel.
Immanuel has impacted my life in a great many ways. Whether it is the friendships that I have that are lasting, I take with the spirit of Immanuel when I'm out in the world. If I'm looking for a new church to attend in a different city, Immanuel is sort of the standard that I am looking for, that welcoming fellowship. And even in times of trouble, I have had a sick mother and was amazed at how Immanuel banded together and took care. People were building ramps, delivering food every single day, visiting, taking her to doctor's appointments, keeping her company. It, in a very tangible way, solidified the community of Immanuel, and that people here are serious about doing what they say, and I'm forever grateful for that.
So Immanuel has impacted my life because I was born into Immanuel. This has been my church since I was born. It's been part of my family. It's been part of my Swedish background and my culture. But it's there for me when I need it the most. It's the type of place where the people that are part of Immanuel are such a part of my life. They're the friends that if there's something bothering me at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can call them and I know that they will not be unhappy that I call them. They're my support. They're where I go for sustenance and joy and sharing the important things of my life. When there are sad times in my family, which there have been, they've been there to bolster me and to support me all the way through.
Immanuel has made a huge impact on my Christian life. Growing up in Africa, I've attended church that's so much different from Immanuel. Going to a Christian Reform school, I also had the chance to worship in another setting. But Immanuel has made the most impact on my Christian life because of the way the community comes together, the service, the fellowship, and just the love that the members have for each other.
Well, Immanuel's had a significant impact. We started coming here about a year ago, and we were looking for a great worship community for our family, and so this has really been a home to us over the last year, and we're excited to be here and to become part of the Immanuel community and hopefully do God's work here.
I give to Immanuel because Immanuel gives to me. And I feel that when you are given great things, you need to give those things back. That's the way I was brought up. We need to give back. And Immanuel is a community. And the community needs to be supported in all its ways. It needs to be supported financially. It needs to be supported emotionally. It needs all of us to work together to further the programs that Immanuel has established so that people can feel as I do that Immanuel is one of the most wonderful places to be.
I think I give more with my time, and I think that's what drives me, just being able to give myself, my volunteering to help other people. That's what drives me to give, because it makes me feel like happier. It makes me feel like more purposeful in life when there's something behind that.
Giving back to Immanuel in every way that I possibly can. I'm drawn to it because I'm inspired by the tremendous outreach of this church, this congregation, our pastor, by all the different ministries, all God's people, Baby Spirit, our meditation community. It inspires me to want to share, and I'm doing the best I can in that regard.
I give back to Immanuel because I wouldn't want to imagine a day when it wasn't here, when it didn't exist for a place for me to come to. And I think out of a sense of gratitude of the people that came before me, the people that founded the church, and the people that kept it going, you know, through all the years of tough times and better times. So I feel like, you know, I'm a part of that, and I want to play my part in keeping it going. And I don't always want to be a taker. I want to be a giver too. And I think it's important for all of us to rally together and give. And it's mostly out of a sense of gratitude that it's a wonderful place to be. There's a lot of love here. There's a lot of wonderful people. And I'd hate to see it, you know, not be here. So I just want to give as much as I can.